This video is about Leave the World Behind, a new movie starring Julia Roberts, Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke is in it, Kevin Bacon is in it. So 2 Oscar winners are in it. This is a spoiler video. If you haven't seen it, I welcome you to go and watch it. I always recommend that you watch a video talking about a movie before watching it, because they're not spoiled by knowing what the story is about, right? I mean, we all know what Romeo and Juliet is about. We all know what Oppenheimer is about. We all know what so many different stories out there that get turned into movies are about. This is based on a book, so the stories out there that you can find out for yourself. It doesn't matter. It's really about how the movie is presented, how the acting, the cinematography, the direction, and the general story that's being told. And if you appreciate film, then you can absolutely understand what the film is about and still watch it. But the choice is yours. So again, if you have not seen it and you don't want any spoilers, then please, go watch it and come back. If you have seen it or you don't care about spoilers, once again, spoiler warning, last warning. So I saw this movie yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I think the actors did a good job of kind of being professional and doing their best with the content that they had. It's a film that's about, it's a film that relies heavily on tension to move forward. So if you are familiar with movies, the early movies of M. Night Shyamalan, this is right along his playbook. I think this guy, basically, whoever the director is, he probably went and looked at those movies and said, let me recreate something very similar to the kind of work that he does. It's masterfully done in the sense that it's a master copy of an M. Night film. But is it a good film? No, it is not a good film. It's good entertainment. It kept my attention for 2 hours, however long it was. But at the end of the movie, I was just like, what is this that I'm watching, right? So there's a couple of themes in this film. One of them is, and if you've seen the trailer, you know this. One of them is race. That's a pretty big theme here, and how people relate to each other in certain kinds of scenarios. So, family, pretty okay, maybe not the richest, but all right family, well-to-do family, at least have enough money to be able to go and rent a home in the Hamptons or wherever this is located, on some beach somewhere in Long Island that has nice houses, right? That has one way in, one way out. So Martha's Vineyard, those kind of places, right? So they go and rent a home there on a whim from the wife, Julia Roberts, and they go out there and they're having a fun day. They go to the beach. At the beach, there's tons of people. They come back. She goes shopping. She buys groceries. Again, there's tons of people. And then she goes home. They cook. They're having a good time. The kids go to bed and they get a knock on the door. And who's at the door? It's 2 black people, right? Now, let's set aside the fact that this man is wearing like an impeccable suit that looks like it's worth probably more than everybody in that house's salary, right? But there's some tension associated with them, letting them in. They say they want to come into the house, and it's their house. She has a hard time believing that. Now, she lives in New York, right? She lives in New York City. And anybody who lives in New York would tell you that there is nothing strange about a rich black man. There's absolutely nothing strange about a rich black man. But for whatever reason, she has an issue. She's kind of has an issue with them staying there. Now they want to come in. They say they're coming from New York. They just were at the Met or whatever, and they want to come back home. They want to stay in the basement. Hey, take half of your money or whatever. So right there, they lost me, right? Number one, if that's my house, I'm giving you your money back and you can pack your bags and go wherever, right? If you feel like staying, hey, look, if you want to stay in the basement or you want to sleep on the couch or whatever because it's inconvenient for you, that's on you. But there's many hotels, or you might have to make your way back. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but it's my house. It's my house. You got to go. So for whatever reason, he's not doing that. He's like again, there's all this tension buildup. It's like there's something that the whole movie you feel like there's something behind, but everybody's being restrained, and and there's no reason for it. At the end, you find out there's really no reason for it. It's not the way human beings behave. But I don't want to get too frustrated. Let's go on with the story. So she goes into the house. All right, cool. They're in the house now. They're, she's arguing with her husband because she doesn't want them to stay. She's saying things like, I don't believe this is his house. She doesn't believe it's his house, right? That's the race piece. She doesn't believe it's his house. Or that a person like that could own a house like this. And all through the movie, there's little, she puts little things out there, that sort of show like a race, sort of like racial tension, not like crazy stuff, not KKK racial tension, just regular people, lack of knowledge or shelter. It's kind of like not knowing how other people behave or being suspicious about other people. The daughter herself, Mahershala Ali's character has a daughter. She, on multiple occasions, makes statements about not trusting the other couple, again because of primarily because of race, right? That's really the driving factor. So they sprinkle these things in there, and from my understanding, the book maybe delves more into this. And again, a book is obviously going to have a lot more ability to do that, to show you the mental state of the individuals who are involved in the story, because you can actually, like most books in the narrative structure, they can actually they can go into what a person is thinking and their motivations, whereas in a movie you can't do that. You sort of have to act it or show it, right? And the way that Julia Roberts chooses to do it is very subtly, right? And I'm not a white person, obviously, so I don't know. Maybe this is going to make sense and resonate with with white people, or maybe white women or whatever, because really the husband is cool, but she didn't do anything that would give me the sense that she was being in any way racist. It is perfectly reasonable for you to not want to have some stranger come into a home that you've rented, who claims to be the owner of the home, and have them sleep under your roof while you have a 13-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son in your house, right? If it was just me and my wife, I wouldn't do it. So that's a perfectly reasonable reaction, and the because of the ask from the character of the strangers who come to the house, it's hard to identify it as some kind of racial thing, right? Because it's overshadowed by the insanity of the ask. And I think just in a normal situation, if it was not black people that showed up at the house and it was white people that showed up at the house, it would be the same reaction. It would be the same exact reaction. I don't know if anybody could come to that house in that scenario, if we're just being honest, and you would just be like, oh, it's your house. Oh, blah, 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 right? You're going to have a little bit of, there's going to be a little bit of anxiety about them staying there, and you're going to call BS on it to begin with. Now, she does make a statement of like not believing like him, like he owns this house, right? She did say something like that, but again, that's fine. She might have, given the tone of the dialogue they were having, and given the situation, and given the way that they were acting, they were not being very forthcoming. They were being very strange. They were, his character was acting pretty strange. They both were acting kooky as heck, like some kind of home invasion stuff going on. So given that, I wouldn't be surprised somebody making some off the cuff comment when they are in the privacy of like a room. They go upstairs to discuss it, and so she's making some kind of comments because at the end of the day, she just doesn't want them there. That's the bottom line. She doesn't want them there, but her husband is like, I don't see the problem, right? She doesn't get it. So that's the framework and that's the setup, right? Now, what is happening, right? they're trying to figure out what's happening. They don't know. Weird stuff keeps going on. There's this whole thing with deer showing up, animals randomly showing up, being all weird. I mean, it almost played like Signs, again, like M Night, very M Night. Like it's almost played like Signs, just having weird things happen over and over and over again, and sort of like they don't, why they're happening. We're trying to figure out why they're happening. So that keeps catching your attention. That kept catching my attention. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's aliens. They keep showing Earth from space. Right? They keep showing Earth from space, showing satellites with ominous music. There's actually a scene where they show the moon, but they don't show the moon regular. They first show it. It looks like maybe it could be a spaceship. And then slowly when you see the flag on there, you realize it's the moon. Why are they why is this in this movie? Why is that scene in this movie? There's another scene where the daughter is like, they're in some shed somewhere, and the daughter is standing there, and she's completely surrounded. I'm sorry, Mahershala Ali's daughter is standing there. She's completely surrounded by deer. They're just staring at her. Right? Like they completely circle her, and then this buck, the main deer, starts walking forward slowly towards her. Why is this? What does this have to do with what the movie's about? And when you watch it, you'll see absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's just in the movie to build up tension, to make you feel like something weird is happening, but nothing weird is happening. Nothing weird is happening. Everything happening to them makes perfect sense, and I'll get to that a little bit later on. If you haven't seen the movie but you want to find out, then I'm gonna have a little bit of tension myself build up, right? So nothing weird is happening. Now they're confused. The phones aren't working, satellites aren't working, cell phones aren't working, nothing is working. My man has seen planes falling from the sky. All those people that were on the beach, where are they? Where are they? They've disappeared because the story needs them to disappear. Because what would naturally happen in any scenario like this, when your phone stops working, all these things start working, you're going to go to the grocery store, you're going to go to the town center, you're going to go to your neighbor, you're going to go from house to house, knocking on doors. Yo, what's going on? What's happening? You're going to troubleshoot and solve the problem. In this case, they go to one neighbor's house, and then they come back to the house and they just keep on lamenting that, oh, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on, right? What happened to the person when you were at the grocery store that served you? Did you go back there and ask them what's happening? Do you know what's happening, bro? What's going on? Did you do any of that? Nah, no, you didn't do that. You just stayed in your house and just acted weird. Okay, not a lot of sense made there. Not a lot of sense made with all the weird stuff going on. Just there for the purpose of just being there. So then there's another scene. So I'm just talking about some crazy scenes in this film where like they're trying to leave town and there's a whole bunch of Teslas blocking the road, and so they slowly start to realize, she goes and looks at the Tesla. It's still got the tags on it. So this came from a dealership. The Tesla left the dealership, right? There's a dealership on this island. There's a dealership on this island that has 100 Teslas of exactly the same model. On this island in Long Island, right? Or this town in Long Island, right? There's a dealership that has 100 Teslas, right? Right? Okay, let's put on our thinking caps here. Does that make any sense? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. And these things left the dealership, right? So a Tesla has full self-driving. And this is where I realized that the person I don't know whether it's the person who wrote this or the person who directed it. I doubt it's the person who wrote it, but I haven't read the book, so I don't know. If you've read the book and you know if this happened in the book, let me know. But the person who wrote this, who directed this, I'm thinking they're just trying to think of cool scenes and cool ideas, and they're just putting it into the film with no meaning whatsoever to anything. So this is a plot device they're using to say that the whole road off the island is blocked off. These Teslas have left the dealership and they've driven and they've started crashing into each other. So let's just parse that out as rational thinkers. So the Tesla uses sensors, and all these self-driving cars use sensors to determine whether they're on the road or not. They have cameras all over the place, and they're looking at the lines of the road, and they're checking proximity to cars in front of them and all this stuff. In the dealership, if you turn on the full self-driving, or some hacker turns on full self-driving on all the Teslas in the world and says, start driving here and doing weird stuff, then that Tesla is going to be using those sensors. It needs those sensors for it to navigate on a road. The main reason why the Tesla stays on the road is because the sensors are keeping it from like going off the road, right? The sensors are keeping it from hitting a wall, and the sensors are keeping it from turning left, turning right, and all that stuff, right? It follows then that the same sensors that are keeping the car on the road while it's driving through town from the dealership to get to the bridge would also be preventing the cars from crashing into each other. And as an owner of a Tesla, I can tell you that the full self-driving will actually shut off if you don't wiggle the steering wheel. And it also checks the weight on the seat to determine whether or not there's somebody actually sitting there. And there's cameras in the front of the car that basically are collision cameras that will stop the car if there's a collision coming. That's just the way the car is made. So what did this person do? Hack everything into the car, into every single Tesla on this island or in the world to make it self-drive, but hack into the code to prevent it from self-driving, to allow it to crash, to just take out one piece of the self-driving from it, just that piece. I guarantee you, if you take out that collision piece, that car is not making it as far as it's gone. So that's just a trash idea. Whoever thought of that idea, go and get a Tesla, bro. Go and get a Tesla. You're just putting out crazy stuff that doesn't even make any damn sense, right? And by the way, I want to say this. I enjoyed the movie. I'm not going to say that it was a fun movie because it was fun to sit there and be tense for 2 hours, right? That was kind of fun. Be like, oh, what's going on? Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's a nice scene. So what is cool about what he does is that the scenes that he gives us, the scenes that from my perspective, the scenes are kind of cool. They're cool scenes, but they're not well thought out scenes, right? That's the kind of stuff that if I was making a movie that I would be writing in my stories. And then when I take it to someone who actually knows what they're doing, they're going to say, no, that doesn't make any sense. No, that doesn't make any sense. No, that doesn't make any sense. Well, why would that happen if this was happening? So long story short, we don't actually get to ever find out the end of it. All this weird stuff happens, and that's all that happens is weird stuff. That's all that's actually happening. The characters that are this racial tension that's supposed to be happening between them never actually occurs. They have tension, but they have tension because the daughter is kind of a jerk, is being weird, and the mother, Julia Roberts' character, is kind of she's got a little attitude. She's got a little bit of an attitude, but she has an attitude because she's scared, because she saw a tanker while they were on the beach. They saw a tanker, crash into the beach, and now these people show up and they're acting weird, and she's tense about what might be going on because she feels like something weird is going on. So that's where it comes from. The only time that she talks about, the only inkling we're given about the racial angle is from her basically narrating it, saying, oh, I'm sorry the way I treated you. I'm sorry about basically, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm sorry that I was racist. I was a little bit racist towards you, or I didn't treat you right because you are black, whatever it is, right? She said, she wondered if the daughter didn't want to jump in the pool because of her hair, right? And she said that she wasn't sure that the guy owned the house. That's what she did. That's what she did. All right. That does not racial tension make. In the end, when we discover what the reasons were, it felt a lot like an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. It was just like, some kind of weird Deus Ex Machina, lots of exposition. Essentially, America is under attack. America is under attack, and they're using microwave signals they're separating people, breaking them apart. They're using this pattern to destabilize the country so that the country goes into war and just destroys itself from the inside out. That's basically the big gotcha in the end. All right, so we got it. So now explain to me, did they train those deer to just be weird? Was that part of the strategy, to train the deer to be weird? Right? Did they let some flamingos, they flew over America, and they let go of flamingos so that flamingos would fly and land on people's pools to make them feel like, oh, what's going on? What's happening with America? We better go around killing each other, right? Huh? I don't get it. Like, what was the deal with the deer? What was the deal with the deer? Made no sense whatsoever, right? And of course, the Tesla situation, they programmed the Teslas. That was part of their strategy. We're going to block the bridge by programming Teslas to drive onto the bridge and crash. What? Just, like, I'm speechless. So go out and watch the movie for yourself. Leave your comments below if you have seen it, how you felt about it. Leave your comments below if you agree that this is kind of like a silly movie. If you like the movie, then of course, say that as well. And let me know how you feel. Right? If I showed up at your house in the middle of the night, dressed like this, and at a house that you were renting, and I tell you that it's my house, are you going to let me in, or are you going to kick me out? And is it going to be because I'm black, or is it going to be because some weird dude that you don't know has showed up at your house? Right? And if it was a white person, would you be more likely, if you're a white person, would you be more likely to let a person in because they're white? So obviously they must own the house. And if you're a black person, if I show up, are you more likely to let me in because I'm a black person? So you feel like comfortable letting me in. The premise of the whole story just like the start of the story, or the triggering point, or whatever it is that they're building from, didn't make much sense to me. I think they should just let go of the whole race thing, and not played up on that at all, and they should just let that go. It has nothing to do with her reactions, had nothing to do with race, and everything to do with being a mother and being a private person, and not wanting someone that you don't know in your house while you're sleeping. That and I don't know anyone that would do that. And probably the people who have done that in the past, they've never found them again. I mean, this movie could have gone all kinds of ways, and those characters could have, that family could have just been butchered, okay, or robbed. It could have been a home invasion. It could have been anything, right? Just made no sense, So that's my take on it. So that's my review of Leave the World Behind. If you enjoyed this video, please like, please share, and please subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. This is a story that's constructed by a person that is fucked up in the head in terms of like race, right? That's who's written this thing. And it could be a black person, it could be a white person, I don't know. There's plenty of black people in the world that are hung up on race. And there's plenty of white people in the world that are hung up on race, right? And whether you're black, white, Mexican, Chinese, Middle Eastern, whatever it is, if you're hung up on race and you're hung up on race based on stereotypes, you're fundamentally a pretty stupid person, right? If you think that what you see on TV and the news is an accurate indication of what any group of people that number in the billions, there are over a billion black people in the world. There are over a billion black people in the world, right? Every day, right, this person who wrote this story, if we're to believe, you know, the character that he has written, every day that character walks through the city of New York, right? She knows about Jay-Z. She knows about all the athletes. She knows about all the stockbrokers. She knows about all the business moguls. She sees all the people in New York working, middle class, doing all kinds of stuff. She sees all those people. And this is the kind of person who, after they go through and maybe encounter during their day 1,000 black people, if one black person does, a homeless black person does something to her, she's going to attribute that behavior to every black person, all the thousands she met that day and the billion that's all around the world, right? That kind of mindset and movies like this that propagate that bullshit, because that's what it is, and that foolishness, they're not worth anybody whose intelligence time, right? And leading with that bullshit, like if you watch the trailer is all about that, but that's not what the movie is about, right? That is not what the movie is about. Those people get along just fine. Those people are not separated. Those people figure it out. Those people work well together. Those people trust each other. They help each other. And that's how they get through the situation. That's how they get through the situation. So why so I mean, and I guess you're trying to, I'm not even going to try to rationalize the foolishness, but whoever came up with this story and whoever directed the story, stop it. Okay? Just stop it. Right? Just stop it. That's all I can say. And this is a PSA to anybody that might be watching this, all right? We all need to understand that there is always going to be a percentage of any group that you construct based on any classification. There's always going to be a percentage of that group that are bad actors. If you take a look at everybody who's under 6 feet, you're going to have bad actors. If you take a look at everybody who's over 6 feet, you're going to have bad actors. If you take a look at people who have some kind of a disability, there's going to be bad actors. People who have different hues of skin from you, there's going to be bad actors. If you look based on the eye color, the color of a person's eyes, blue-eyed people, there's going to be a percentage of them that are bad actors. Green-eyed people, a percentage of them that are bad actors. You can't take a random classification and believe me, race is as random a classification as any of these other things that I've mentioned. There's a fundamental difference between race and culture. That's number one. Number two, many things that affect bad actors, many things that drive the kind of bad acting that America seems to be so infatuated with, have to do with a person's socioeconomic status. It has to do with the opportunities that a person is given. Disenfranchised people all around the world, whether they are black, whether they are white, whether they are from any country, right? Disenfranchised people behave similarly. People who have a tendency towards crime, right, behave similarly. It's not because of some classification, some made up classification that you're just using to just draw a statistical line and say, oh, let's look at it this way, that they're doing those things. How many middle class, regular black people do you think are out there committing crimes? How many black people that are in college and that went to college educated, had a stable home, didn't see any kind of crazy violence in their life, no trauma to speak of? How many of them are stick up kids? How many of them are joining gangs? Right? How many of them are like going around, I don't know, doing whatever nonsense that the storyteller is subconsciously trying to project? How many? And vice versa, if you go to France and you go to the slums there, right? Or if you go to to China and you go to the slums there, how many of them are behaving like middle class people, like the well-to-do, just not committing crimes, not doing anything wrong? What's the percentages look like? It's so asinine to ignore the fact that your social conditions are the primary factor that drive the kinds of things that you're going to be doing in terms of like being criminal or being sketchy or whatever. Desperate people do desperate things. That's just reality. Desperate people do desperate things. And I think we've seen in the modern climate that we're in right now that desperate people can be quite violent. Desperate people can be quite violent. That's not an overstatement of the fact. So that's my soapbox to the author of this story. Like, again, I haven't read the book, and I'm going to go and read the book and maybe give an additional review of the book after I've read it to try to understand where he's coming from. But selling this movie as some kind of, starting it out with the whole, that whole intro, bro, just bothered me, bro. That whole intro just bothered me. And I hope this was actually written by a person of color, because I would be actually quite disgusted if it was not. If there's people going around here thinking this stuff, then shame on you.